Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for coming out. Pretty good turnout. So today I want to talk about a very important topic. Actually, it could be considered the most important subject matter that we can discuss at all. Anybody have any idea what it might be? Krishna consciousness. Okay, Krishna is good. It's a little more specific. Who am I? Okay, it's pretty close. So the topic is the purpose of human life. Right. So the purpose. Everyone online and in this hustle culture and all this stuff is talking about finding your purpose. What is your purpose? My purpose, your purpose. My purpose is to be a musician. Mine is to be a doctor. Mine is to be a mother, and all these different things. So people have this idea that purpose is subjective. That the purpose of life is what you make it, right? They think that you have to go out and find your own purpose, and my purpose is different from your purpose. And once I find that purpose for myself, that's when I'm going to find real lasting happiness in this life. That's when I can actually fulfill my life's goal and find real lasting happiness. And so I want to kind of explore whether this is true or not, whether purpose is subjective, or is there an overarching purpose for all of human life that we all have the same purposes. Is that the case, or is it that everyone makes their own purpose? There's this common concept, this Japanese concept, where they say that finding your purpose is a combination of what you love to do, what you're good at doing, what you can get paid for, and what the world needs. So you find these four categories, and then whatever's in the middle of all of that, whatever overlaps with all those things, that becomes your purpose. So maybe you're very good at understanding biology and how the human body works. You can get paid for that by being a doctor, so that's good. And then the world needs doctors, and then you like doing that. Maybe you like helping people, so that becomes your purpose. So this is kind of what's commonly said, and in the media and schools and all these things is, okay, find what you like doing and what you're good at, and then try to make a life out of that, and that becomes your purpose. But a lot of times we see people's purpose just kind of becomes what they end up doing, right? Like people go through the system of schooling, education, then higher education, and most people when they get to college, I don't know about you, but when you get there and you have to choose a major, anybody have the experience of not knowing what to choose? Yeah? Okay, we got one. Anybody else? Yeah? I mean, I went there and, there's so many different options. You can do philosophy, you can do psychology, you can do science, you can do math, you can do music, you can do so many different things, any kind of field of knowledge. And this is the age where you're supposed to kind of decide your purpose. Okay, I'm 18 years old now, I'm an adult. I have to choose what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But we see from most people, it doesn't work out that way. Most people they get their degree and then they don't even end up working in that field that they got the degree in nowadays. So this is kind of tracks that people are pushed down, right? So they're pushed down a track of, well, you have to go to school till you're 18. That's legally required, even though most people don't even want to do it. So you're forced to do this. You're forced to learn exactly what they teach you. And then from there, most people are recommended to go to college. It's kind of a forced thing. You have the choice of either working or going to college, or just maybe sitting in your mom's basement and playing video games or something like that. But most people choose, either one or the two, go to college or work. And it's generally pushed to go to college because they say more education means more money for you in the future, and it's better for your future, better for your career. And again, so they get to college and then they're forced to choose kind of their purpose at that point in life. But most people haven't even considered at that point in life, what is their purpose? What is the purpose of life, right? And so, to boil all this down, most people will say that if you ask them, what's the purpose of life? And they might say, oh, it's to do this career for me. But if you keep asking why do that? Why be a doctor? Why help people? Why did it? And you keep asking them over and over again, eventually they'll get to the point where they say, well, because I want to be happy, right? because serving other people makes me happy. Curing other people's diseases makes me feel happy. And the point of everything, to be a parent, to be a very good musician or something like that, all of these things it revolves around the idea of eventually I will become happy by doing this, and so that's why I'm pursuing this thing. It might be very difficult, it might be very challenging, but the ultimate end desired goal is happiness, right? But what is the quality of that happiness? So we see people are chasing happiness in this way, but they're not stopping to just kind of reflect and say, well, is that a lasting happiness? Is that a real permanent happiness that I'm going to experience if I get that thing? Maybe I'm helping some people, but this thing that we all face, which is the aging of the body and eventually old age, disease, death, these are universal truths and facts that we have to face with a sober consciousness and a sober mind and understand that this is what's going to happen to me. And so any kind of temporary happy situation I can get into, whether that's becoming a famous musician or becoming a great athlete or becoming, like I said, a doctor or a lawyer, some very high-paying, prestigious position, this is all a very temporary position that we're working for. And we put so much intelligence, so much time, so much thought, so much patience and perseverance into achieving these things without stopping to consider and just wait a second and say, well, what is actually the end result of this, right? And so we are completely oblivious, generally, to the fact that we're in a temporary situation. And if you kind of bring this up to people, you'll see, like I've spoken to people in the street distributing books and speaking about this, and their general response is, well, that's just part of life. Death is just part of life. Old age is part of life. You just have to accept it and move on. That's just what you have to accept. That's how it goes. And you have to come to peace with that. You have to come to terms with these things. But do we have to? Do we actually have to accept that death is inevitable? Do we have to accept that there's no way out of it? That life is all in all, and that accepting death, we have to just enjoy this life for what it is? Or is there more knowledge? Is there more understanding to that? Is there possibility for eternal life? Everyone's wanting that eternal, permanent situation of happiness. Everyone desires that, and they try to arrange things in this world to get that, right? They get the nice house, they get the nice family, nice children, everything. And they come under the illusion, because it's, such a slow process, this process of the body aging, they become completely bewildered and under the illusion that this is a permanent situation. We become convinced that this is all in all, this is real, this is permanent. But slowly and slowly, Krishna actually describes that he is time. He continues going, and the body gets older, and eventually, it dwindles and dies. And we understand from the Bhagavad Gita that the soul is actually eternal. It's permanently there, and it goes to another situation, where it repeats the same exact thing over and over again, becomes attached to a situation, thinks it's in a permanent situation, and then eventually loses all these things. So if you ask anybody, do you want to die? Unless they are mentally unstable, they will say no. They don't. No, most people just don't want to die like right this moment, right? But if you tell them, well, you're gonna, do you want to die later? They say, well, you just have to accept that. So people don't understand that you can question these things, and well, is death necessary? Is it completely inevitable? And the Vedic texts, the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, and these texts that we study here at the monastery in this tradition, dive into this topic in very explicit detail, and they actually offer solutions. And you can just take that at face value and just take that on faith, but there's much more depth into that I can go into how that works and why it's to be trustworthy, why the source of knowledge there is trustworthy. And I'll do that. So we understand that this Bhagavad Gita, let's just take Bhagavad Gita for example, it's spoken by Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the knowledge within it is on a completely different platform from the mundane knowledge that we find in schools and universities and all these things. It's actually completely perfect knowledge because it comes from the perfect source, the perfect person, Krishna. And so, simply by reading these books and beginning to practice what is prescribed by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, namely, he says, become my devotee, think of me always, worship me, offer me things like offer me fruits, flowers, water. Very simple things, actually, he's saying to do. And we have methods for doing that are prescribed in this day and age, this chanting of this mantra that we just had for this beginning of the program. This is a way to meditate upon Krishna in the form of his name and the sound vibration of his name. And this is a completely, it's a complete and perfect meditation upon Krishna, because everything in relation to Krishna is complete and perfect. His name contains all of the potencies of himself. So just by hearing and chanting upon his name and hearing that sound vibration with devotion and offering him that, we're able to experience a level of transcendental bliss that you might have been feeling during that kirtan. So this is the sublime and very easy method of meditation for this day and age. It doesn't require you to go to the Himalayas and sit in a snowy peak, in freezing cold weather and do some crazy breathing exercises where you're able to heat up the inside of your body and do all this stuff. It doesn't require all of this like in previous ages. It's very simple. You just chant, and you can do it anywhere, anytime. But the point is, this is prescribed in Bhagavad Gita, this chanting and this hearing and all these different methods for worshiping Krishna, right? And so back to this idea of purpose, right? So people have this idea of, I have my purpose, you have your purpose. It's okay as long as we just live peacefully and I don't impede upon your purpose and you don't impede upon my purpose, we can live happily and we can do these things. But back to this idea of the impermanence of this material world, we can't actually find lasting happiness. Plus, if you think about it, okay, I have my purpose, which is to be here and be explaining Bhagavad Gita to you, right? And Hitler had his own purpose. His purpose was to eradicate Jews from the world. And he believed that it was good for the world. He believed that it was something, he was, skilled at doing it, and he was able to convince others to do it. And so if you take this model that generally is proliferated and explained and taught now, to just take what you love, what you're good at, then it opens the door for all these kinds of horrible things to happen, actually, because it was his purpose too. So this is a good kind of like counter to someone that says, well, I have my purpose, you have your purpose. Well, Hitler had his own purpose too. So does that mean it's okay? Because, he, completely fulfilled his own purpose. He felt probably very satisfied in doing that. But again, we know it's very evil what he did. So we have to come to the point of understanding that purpose means, one, that there must be an overarching purpose for human life. And how can I say that with such confidence? Because, again, there's 7 billion people on the planet, so many different personalities, different, interests and all these things. But you can look at it in a very scientific way. If you take, just for example, this right here. This is an iPhone, and it was built with a purpose in mind. It's not meant to be used as a hammer. It's not meant to be used as a frisbee. It's meant to be used to call people and, you can write things down, you can text people, you can go on the internet, you can do all these different things, but it has a specific purpose in mind. If you take anything, you take this cup right here. This was designed and thought about by someone with a purpose to hold liquids in it so that someone can drink it. And so, everything around you, you see this table right here was designed so that it could hold books nicely. This cushion that I'm sitting on was designed to be sat on. Everything that you see has a purpose behind it. There's this story of Isaac Newton, and he's a famous physicist and all these things, but he was a theist. He believed in God. And so one time, one of his friends came over who was an agnostic, and he had actually just built this model of the universe as they understood it back then, and it had all these moving parts and different planets, and you could twist something and they would all start rotating, and it was very interesting and innovative for the time. This was a long time ago. And so he showed his friend this, and the friend was, wow, this is so amazing. How did you do this? I mean, or who did this? Who built this? And he's like, nobody built it. It just came about. It's just there. And he was like, well, somebody must have built it. I mean, it's got all these intricate parts and all this stuff, and it's moving. He's like, no, nobody did. And eventually he said, me saying that nobody built this is the same as you saying that nobody designed this world, which is so much more complicated, so much more in depth, and so many more moving parts. The same thing goes. It's the same same level of silliness, of illogical thinking, to think that this could just come about from nothing, to think that the whole universe could just come about randomly. So we see that everything in this world that is designed, has some function to it, that has some that has some kind of order to it, and is put in a certain order, has been designed, has been thought of, and has a purpose to it, right? So every object we see. So similarly, we can extrapolate and understand that this body, this human body, must also have a purpose to it. It has so many different moving parts. It has so much intricacy to it, so many systems, the nervous system, all the senses, all the organs are working. The heart is beating on its own. The brain is firing neurons that are connected to all parts of the body. So many different things are happening in the body at the same time. And so it's a very intricately designed system, right? So we can understand that it must also have a purpose. This universe must also have a purpose. It's all very orderly designed. It's not just complete chaos. Things aren't just flying all over the place. And there are laws of nature. There's very much order, and there's ecosystems, and there's equilibrium, and all these things are happening. So we can understand through that there must be some purpose, right? And so, like I said, many people are coming up with their own purpose in life and all these things, but when we come to the level of spiritual inquiry, when we start to think, well, is there a specific purpose for human life? Is there one purpose? Is there something that, if I found this, I would actually be completely fulfilled and find the real answers to why do I exist? Who am I? How am I existing in this body? What is life all about? Is God real? All these deep questions that most people don't think about, they just kind of discard. But you've all come here because you have some deeper thoughts about life, and you're inquiring about this thing. So that's a very good sign. There's 6 million people that live in this city and the greater Atlanta area, and there's probably about 40 people here, 30, 40 people here. So that puts you in a pretty high percentage category of people that are inquisitive about spiritual life. That's very good. It actually even says this and affirms this in Bhagavad Gita, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye, that out of many thousands among men, only one will endeavor for spiritual knowledge, for perfection. So this is kind of exemplary of that fact. There's so many people in this city, and only so many people come here. And so it's not for everyone. It's not something that everyone's going to think about and consider. But the Vedas, they start with this aphorism, Atato Brahma Jignasa. This is Vedanta, the end of all knowledge. Atato Brahma Jignasa means, now that you have attained this human form of life, so we're in this human form of life, one should inquire into the absolute truth. One should inquire and try to understand, why am I here? Because we have the facility to do so, right? The animals aren't able to think, well, who am I? What am I doing? Why am I this lion that's going and eating, zebras? Why am I in a lion body? They don't think like that, right? They just do it. They're just acting completely on instinct, and they're just kind of going on almost like a robot. But we understand that there's a soul living in there. They just don't have the body that has the developed level of consciousness that humans have. And so humans have this ability to inquire into the absolute truth and use language and understand these things, right? So this is actually the duty of human life. This is the prerogative. This is the topmost priority of human life, to do this because it's not available to any other form of life. You can pull this up. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:29-9. Or sorry, is it 11:9-29? Or try 11:29-9, and then if it's not that, it's the other one. 11:9-29, sorry. Labdva sudurlabham idam bahu sambhavante, manusham artadam anityamapi hadiraha, turnam yatite napatera namrityu yavan nishreyasaya vishaya kalu sarvatasyat. So the translation here. After many, many births and deaths, one achieves the rare human form of life, which, although temporary, affords one the opportunity to attain the highest perfection. Thus, a sober human being should quickly endeavor for the ultimate perfection of life, as long as his body, which is always subject to death, has not fallen down and died. After all, sense gratification is available even in the most abominable species of life, whereas Krishna consciousness is possible only for a human being. So this last part is very important. I mean, the whole verse is extremely important, but this last part is the point I'm making, that Krishna consciousness of God, understanding who we are, is possible only in this human form of life. Animals can't achieve it. And so therefore, this becomes our duty, our responsibility, actually. The human life is actually a form of great responsibility. But you see people, generally these days, they're just kind of doing whatever they feel like, doing whatever they want. Nowadays, a lot of people just sit, at least from my experience, we've worked with a lot of college students and stuff. They just kind of sit inside, play video games, don't do much, in life. They're pretty just aimless and looking at social media and doing all these just kind of brainless activities, right? But this is very clearly saying that Krishna consciousness is possible only for a human being, so we should quickly endeavor for that as long as the body has not fallen down and died, right? So we should remember that this, we have death at our doorstep, at any time it could come. It's not that just people in an older body die. So many times younger people die all the time. And we should understand the urgency of human life, the urgency of spiritual inquiry, because this is an opportunity that's only available right now for us. We don't know when the next time we'll get a human birth is. It's saying after many, many births and deaths. So we're going through this cycle of birth and death, reincarnation, and we're going through so many different species of life. There's 8.4 million species of life that we can transmigrate through. And out of that, only 400,000 of those are human life. And it's explained that a human form is very, very rare. So you've achieved the human form, and you've also achieved this, what I was saying earlier, that you're inquiring, you're coming here, and you're actually inquisitive about spiritual life. So the situation you're in now is extremely rare. You got the human form of life, which is already very rare, and then you, on top of that, out of thousands of humans, only one will endeavor for spiritual knowledge. So you've achieved a very high, starting point to actually jump off into spiritual life and really dive into this. And so, again, this purpose of human life is explained very much in depth in these books that we're talking about, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. This one, really nicely explains and encapsulates that purpose. This point that sense gratification is available even among the most abominable species of life, animal life, and all these things, whereas Krishna consciousness is possible only for human beings. So most people are in this trap or in this habit of they're simply chasing after this sense gratification. They're in the human body, they're able to inquire into the absolute truth, but they're simply chasing after sense gratification just like animals do. They're just trying to eat, sleep, mate, and defend. Doing these four things, and that's what their life revolves around, even if it's in a very fancy way. They might want to eat at the best restaurants. They might want to defend themselves by getting a giant mansion and a bunch of guns, and that's a big thing in American culture, get a bunch of guns, have a fence, with a gate and then stuff. And then they want to have a lot of sex, so they have, many different wives. They get married, get divorced, get married, get divorced over and over again. They always make sure that they have like a young wife, and then once she gets a little older, then they divorce her, get another young wife. This is what happens. And sleeping, people get these nice, fancy $7,000 beds, that are sleep number, and they move up like this, and each side has different softness and firmness and all this kind of crazy stuff, pillows that are, $500. We sleep on a yoga mat on the hardwood, right on top of the hardwood floor with a sleeping bag. It can't cost more than like $100 for the whole setup. And, I sleep better here than I ever slept before because we work so hard in Krishna consciousness and we're doing all this service that we're super tired by the end of the day. But you see, again, so many people that have these fancy beds and so much money, they can't sleep at night. They have insomnia. Why is that? It's because they're not actually happy. They're not actually fulfilling the purpose of human life. And so even if someone isn't aware of the fact that this spiritual knowledge is there, if they're simply engaging in these materialistic activities and just trying to enjoy this and enjoy that, they'll never actually find real satisfaction. Because again, it's like trying to use this as a hammer. If I do that, I won't get the nail into whatever I'm trying to hammer it into. This thing will be destroyed, and I won't be happy either. So I won't be happy, the phone won't be happy, it'll be completely destroyed, and the job won't be done. So this is the same as using the human form of life in these lower ways. It's not actually bringing us real happiness. It's actually said that all of this sense gratification and all these things, it's actually it's like low-class enjoyment, low-class happiness. There might be a tiny trace of happiness, like a drop of water in the desert, to be found there, but it's very temporary, it's fleeting, it's like a mirage, right? So we get some enjoyment out of eating some very nice food, but then we get hungry again later. We have to eat again later. And so we keep coming back to it, and it doesn't actually last. We're not finding a permanent situation in this world of happiness. And that's what we're looking for. That's what everyone wants, is permanent security, happiness, peace, love, all these things. But we're not finding it in this world. And so again, we understand that spiritual life is the basis of this lasting peace, because it begins by this inquiry of who am I, what is my purpose, and once we understand, well, I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm actually the soul within this body, just as the Bhagavad Gita is explaining. As soon as we come to that platform and we understand that, we're able to begin our journey of spiritual life and understand, okay, real knowledge, who am I, what is matter, what is spirit, and who is the controller of both, right? So like I said before, everything in this world, this world has been designed with a purpose. Well, who's the designer that designed it with that purpose? And why did he do that? And what is my relationship to that person? So this is the path that we go down in spiritual life, that we understand first, who am I? Okay, I'm the spirit soul. And then we understand, okay, who is the creator of all of this? Who is the controller of everything? Okay, that's Krishna. And then we understand, what is the relationship between me and Krishna? And this is the only thing that will actually lead us to this lasting happiness, because it's on this level of permanent understanding, this level of beyond the body, beyond this temporary material body that's subject to decay and death, right? So our soul is not dying at the time of death, and our relationship with Krishna is actually eternal. It's since time immemorial, it's been there, and it'll always be there no matter what happens, no matter how long we turn away from him. So he's just waiting for us to turn to him and reestablish that relationship, rekindle that relationship. And once we do, we experience a level of security and transcendental bliss that completely surpasses. And compared to this, like I said, this lower class enjoyment, this is first class enjoyment and first class happiness. And so ultimately, everyone will say, the purpose of their life, ultimately when you ask them why do this, why do that, they want to be happy, right? And so, like I said, their happiness is a temporary happiness. It's a very temporary happiness, and it's not actually fulfilling to the soul in the long run. But what we're understanding is, when we understand things from a clear perspective and who we are, then we can actually come to a level of permanent happiness. And like I said, the purpose of life is to become ultimately happy and to understand who we are. And when we get to that level, we can actually do that. So it's really a fantastic thing. And so the point is, we have a spiritual science that is being taught here. This is not some made-up thing that we've just formulated, and I'm not just speaking something off of the top of my head that I've created or formulated. This is all spoken about since time immemorial by, first off in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by Krishna himself. And then it has been repeated and unchanged by spiritual masters since time immemorial. And so many countless individuals have achieved this perfection and explained the symptoms of that perfection, explained the level of happiness that is achieved by that perfection. And so if we have this level of skepticism to say, well, I think that that's your purpose, and my purpose is doing something else, and, actually there's no ultimate purpose to human life. If we have this level of kind of dismissal of this, then we're actually dismissing the reports and the testimonials of all these great sages and great masters throughout time that have reported the same exact thing, that you follow this science, and it's unchanged since time immemorial. It's very specifically laid out how to achieve this. They've all followed that, and they've all achieved the same result. Again, it's a very scientific process. In science, they say if you can repeat an experiment, then it becomes bona fide, if you can repeat the results. So this has been repeated over and over and over again by so many people throughout time. And it's being practiced now, and there's living spiritual masters now on this planet that have achieved this perfection, and you can meet them. And so this is not some theory, this is not just some idea, this is not just some you just meditate and just everything becomes nothing but one, but I am you, and it doesn't become all this weird mumbo-jumbo stuff. This is a very specific thing that is being spoken about, and it's from an authoritative source. Again, the Bhagavad Gita and all these things that are spoken by Krishna, and this is a level of knowledge that's completely above all this mundane knowledge, mental speculation, just coming up with our own ideas of what spiritual life means. Right, so yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to cover. One more last thing I'll kind of throw in here is that ultimately we understand when we come to this point of human life that what's shaping, even the materialists understand that. Even, you'll find anybody on Instagram and all these YouTube and stuff that is a motivational speaker, and they're saying, what you think is what you become. What your mindset is how you become. And so if you want to become a millionaire, you think about $1 million and you meditate upon that, and eventually you'll get it, right? But that's not exactly accurate. But the point is that they're saying is that what you're thinking about is kind of where your mind goes and where your body goes and your senses and all of your actions and everything goes towards that direction, right? So if you're meditating upon making a bunch of money, you'll probably start doing actions that are related to that. If you're meditating upon finding a partner in life, you'll probably go do actions to find that. Or if you're meditating upon becoming a great athlete, you'll probably start going to the gym and start, practicing your sport and all these things. So similarly, our mind and the thoughts that we're having, it does have a profound influence on the way our life goes. So this is, the point of this chanting and these different practices we do, is that we are meditating upon Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, the topmost, person who has all perfect qualities. Everything, he's completely full in strength, beauty, renunciation, knowledge, all these things. And so by meditating upon him, actually, this is how we find real happiness. And this is actually the topmost thought we can have is on Krishna. We can meditate upon, a very beautiful person, or we can meditate upon, some music that we really like to listen to. We can meditate upon getting a bunch of money, all these things. But these are kind of more lower class thoughts. If we raise our consciousness to the level of thinking about Krishna, thinking about God, 24/7 all the time, this is the topmost function of the mind. This is actually how we can really utilize this human mind in the proper way, is if we're thinking about Krishna. And the way to do that is very simple. We've been doing it here before, and we do it every single week here. It's chanting this mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And you can be assured that this is the complete, full perfection of meditation. There is no need for any other mantras. There's no need for any other kinds of meditation practice. You simply do this meditation, and it is completely perfect because Krishna is complete and perfect in himself. He's the absolute truth. And again, his name is non-different from him. So by meditating upon his names, you're meditating upon him himself. And yeah, so you can do this chanting. You can read these books. And, I kindly request you to take this seriously, take it up seriously, and make it a point in your life to really pursue this perfection of human life that is promised by taking up this practice. Because this is what it's actually promising, is the perfection of human life, the transcending birth and death, and finding eternal happiness, bliss, a level of bliss that's completely unfathomable to us right now. So it's a completely sublime process, and the promise of it is so high. Nobody else is promising these things. And so if you simply engage in this process, you'll start to understand these things more and more. And we should, eagerly engage in this process, just as you see so many materialists are eagerly engaging in making so much money and getting so many accomplishments. Elon Musk, has so many companies and makes so many billions of dollars and does all these things. We should be just as eager as he is. Actually, we should be more eager than he is, because what our promise of what we'll get from doing this is so much higher. And so we can make a routine of doing this chanting. We can chant every single day. Try to do it in the morning when you wake up. It's a great time. Wake up a little bit earlier than you usually wake up, maybe 30 minutes, and try to chant, start with a certain amount of rounds. Most people start with 4 to 8, but you can start with more or less if you want. And the point is to keep a steady number of rounds every single day and never deviate from that, never go below that. You can always go higher, but don't go below. So if you make a vow that you're going to start with 1 round a day, just start with that. It only takes about 10 minutes. And you chant around these beads 1 time. It's 108 times of chanting this mantra. And so you can just do that and continually increase. We do 16 rounds every day, and that's kind of the standard that we ask people to come up to eventually. But we understand it takes some time to do that. But please, take this seriously in your life. You're already taking it seriously by coming here, so I applaud you for that. But please make it a part of your daily routine, not just your weekly routine. You can do it every single day, and there will be no loss on your part. You might think, I'm spending so much time doing this, whatever, but you'll never regret doing this. I can promise you that. You'll never regret doing it after you do it. So please just take it up seriously, and we'll chant now together. Can I get one strand? Is anybody new here? Never first time? Okay, well, nice. Thank you so much for coming. Have you ever chanted on beads before? Yeah? No? Okay, so it's very simple. Don't worry about so there's 108 beads. Actually, there's 109. This one right here with the hairstyle is the 109th one. So we don't chant on that one. We start on the one right next to it, and you can grab it with your middle finger and your thumb. You can pinch it like that. And so this is simply just to keep track of how many times you've chanted the mantra. So this is the mantra right here. It's Hare, Krishna, and Rama are the 3 words. And it's in that specific order right there that we repeat it over and over again. And just a little context, this is not some made-up mantra. This is not some just artificial imposition on the mind. This is actually written in very ancient texts that this is the specific method of meditation for this day and age. And it's the names of Krishna. So Krishna means all attractive. Hare means the energy of God. And Rama means the reservoir of all pleasure. So you're meditating on different qualities of Krishna, and the attitude with which to chant is the attitude of a prayerful mood and saying, God, Krishna, please allow me to be of service to you. I want to serve you in some way. And so this is a plea for service and to be engaged in the service of Krishna. And this is actually the topmost thing, is to serve God, actually. So we can do this. And actually doing this itself is a form of service to God. So believe it or not, it's, just chanting his names is a form of service. So we can do this. We'll just do maybe like 10 mantras. So we'll start here. And you chant through all that whole one right there. And then you move to the next beat when it restarts. And then you keep going all the way. So this is how you keep track. So like I said, when you can take these home if you want them. We just ask you if you can leave any kind of donation, small donation for them. That'd be great. Try to make it, all the way around once a day. It takes about 10 minutes, and your life will become very sublime. So we'll start now. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Last one. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. So this is the Maha Mantra. It means great mantra. Like I said, this is complete in itself, and this is the only kind of meditation you ever need to do. You can do this every single day as much as you want. There's no restrictions on when or where you do it. You can do it when you're driving. You can do it, but don't do it on the beads when you're driving, please. It's not safe. But you can listen to music that has this in it. You can chant it when you're cooking, when you're cleaning, when you're just walking around, whenever you want. You can chant it in your head or out loud. Much better to chant it out loud. But we also do request, and recommend that you start chanting on these beads and set some time aside specifically for this. Don't do anything else. Just sit and do this. But you can also do it at other times. So that concludes our program up here. We'll now have a feast downstairs. It's completely free. Please come downstairs. You can, down here there's stairwells. You can come down and take some lunch with us. Please stick around. And next week, same time, same place, every single week, 2 o'clock here. We hope to see you then. Thank you to all the new people for coming, and all the people that normally come for also coming. We also have our morning program every single morning. It starts at 4:30 in the morning. So you're welcome to come through. We just ask that you call us if you're going to come so we can unlock the door for you. And we can also make enough for breakfast for you. If you can't make it at 4:30, at least come at 7 o'clock, because there's... At 4:30, there's some music, and then we chant on these beads for a couple hours. And then at 7 o'clock, there's more music, and there's another class that goes much more in depth on the philosophy. So you can come check that out, please. 7 o'clock, every single day, 7 days a week. So again, just please call us if you're going to come. Thank you guys for coming, and enjoy the feast downstairs. Hare Krishna.